All right, now it's hitting me. It's hitting me. It actually hit me when I woke up this morning. I was hoping it would hit me when I went to bed last night, but I guess I was so just engulfed in the Sixers and enjoying that game against the Raptors last night and just enjoying every second of it. And there was something historic about that game that I didn't even realize about Joel Embiid, and we'll get to that. Well, I was also engulfed in the idea that James Harden is a system. So we'll get to that conversation. And it's Dallas. That's what hit me today. Woke up this morning. Well, there's something in the air. There's something in the air. Is it cowboy tears? It's a salty smell in the air. It must be cowboy tears. That's what it is. Because I do believe the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game. And I have done over this week, Cowboys week, so everyone wants to talk football. I've been doing they've been doing a circuit of just some different interviews. And it's like, at the end of every interview, I'm just like, I should be more excited for Cowboys week. Not that I'm going to be tailgating, not that I'm going to be partying, but it's just a huge game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it could have major implications to how I actually live my life in the month of January. So it is a huge game, whether you're a fan or whether you get, whether it's a part of your livelihood to make sure you know what the Eagles and Cowboys are doing. And I can't wait for this kickoff on Sunday at 4:25 in South Philadelphia. I can't wait for it because I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. I'll save the prediction for the end. I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. I think it's going to be an epic game in this rivalry. And I am just excited to watch it all go down. I'm excited. Anytime you can watch a rivalry in football and any sport, really, it's just a joy, especially when there's so much on the line for the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles obviously going into this game with a 3-point favorite. They're at home. So as far as I'm concerned, when you're picking the game on the money line, at least, it's a pick 'em at least. So I am looking forward to this game for that reason, that it's just going to be exciting. I think it's going to be very close. And I'm really hoping it doesn't turn into one of these sloppy games where you have rough turnovers and you can't sustain drives. And I think this is going to be a high scoring affair. I thought, unless I saw 43, 46, I think it was the over under. It could be that could be easy. That could be an easy pick for the over in this football game. There's a couple of things with the Cowboys that's obviously worth noting that you have to respect. A couple of names that jump to mind in that regard. Yes, Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, definitely. Dak Prescott, got to respect the fact that he's 8-3 against Philadelphia Eagles in his career. And you also have to respect that Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have not gone up against Dak Prescott and had any ounce of success. So I'd like to see this Philadelphia Eagles team kind of buck that trend and handle the business against the Dallas Cowboys come Sunday night. So we'll get into that conversation, as well as five things I'm really focused on in this game coming up here against the Dallas Cowboys, and what the Eagles are going to need to do to win. Because there's one thing that we scream and yell about. Actually, two things that we scream and yell about. One is offense and one is defense. And it's things that we talk about every single week that the Eagles don't really do. But if they were ever going to do them with any regularity, this would be it. This would be the game right here against this Dallas Cowboys team. Quintin Mikell joins the show, former Eagles safety. It's great to catch up with Q. Haven't had him on the program in quite some time. We had a lot of good times on this show with him joining me over the last couple of years that we've been on here, and it's always a good time, and I always come away learning something. He talks about his own personal memory when it comes to playing against the Dallas Cowboys. He also talks about when he learned of the rivalry and just how intense it was as a rookie here in Philadelphia, and then learning it even more so over the last couple of years. And then I asked him a very tough question, because you guys know me. I'm a hard-hitting journalist. I asked him about whether or not he would have better success defending A.J. Brown or Terrell Owens. Yeah, we'll get to all that more in today's program. Let me just start off with this. I want to end with the Eagles. So I'm going to start it off with the 10-9-8 76ers. They get another win. They improved to 3-1 on the very young season. And I'll just cut right to the chase, okay? Joel Embiid. I was unaware of this. I didn't know. I knew he was having a good start, but Joel Embiid last night, how about this? He now, to start a season, so just 4 games, to start a season, Joel Embiid has 30 points and 10 rebounds. That's what he's averaging in the first 4 games of the season. I don't know who keeps track of this stuff, but anytime you can talk about Wilt Chamberlain, you talk about Wilt Chamberlain. The last player in Sixers history to manage at least 30 points, to average 30 points per game and 10 rebounds per game in the first 4 games of the season. Wilt Chamberlain, 1965 to 1966. Joel Embiid has done it this year. That year, 1965, Wilt Chamberlain became the MVP of the NBA. So that's just, let the conversation start already. 4 games into the season. Couple of things about last night's game. Joel Embiid had 28 points last night. That was great. You had Tobias Harris with 23 points. Tyrese Maxey had 18. Furkan Korkmaz had 10. What? That's not allowed. He played more in last night's game than I think in the entire Doc Rivers tenure in Philadelphia. It was that much, okay? But I really enjoyed this game. The Raptors gave him some hell in the first half. Sixers came out at the end of that first half and really started taking control. Furkan Korkmaz had a great layup going into the fourth quarter. Everything that the Sixers needed to do in that game to nullify a Raptors run late, they did. Whether it was a Kelly Oubre 3, whether it was a driving layup from Tyrese Maxey, whether it was a multiple pivot fadeaway jumper from Joel Embiid from the middle of the paint. Everything they needed to do, they did in the game last night. And I continue to be impressed with Tobias Harris. Now, I have not been part of the Tobias Harris hate train in his time here in Philadelphia. That first year with Jimmy Butler being here and Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic being brought in late in the fold at the deadline of that year from the Clippers, that I have not. He was good. He was really good then. Brought a lot to the table that year. But in the recent years, especially with James Harden, Tobias Harris, all I've done with Tobias Harris is talk about how he is overpaid and not worth his contract, not worth the max deal, should have kept Jimmy Butler, blah, blah, blah. It was a lot more complicated than just Jimmy Butler or Tobias Harris. But I think we all know that by now. But watching him over the years, I always felt like he was a much better player than the role he was in. His numbers were going to take a hit. If you have Joel Embiid here with James Harden, your numbers are going to take a hit. And it doesn't help him that going into the Harden era of the 76ers, you didn't necessarily see Tobias Harris play at a very high level in general. I don't know if it was a funk. I don't know if he just wasn't. I remember him not being able to finish from the rim. I remember him not being able to knock down threes. I remember him making good aggressive moves to the basket and then clank off the front of the rim. I always believe that this level of talent has been in Tobias Harris. Now he has the opportunity, and I really don't want to use this word, but in this system here in Philadelphia, he has the opportunity to showcase it again. So you're seeing him shoot better from beyond the arc. You're seeing him more aggressive. You're seeing a guy like Tyrese Maxey or DeAnthony Melton if he happens to be bringing the ball up, or even Joel Embiid if he's bringing the ball up. You're seeing them be able to find Tobias Harris and a more aggressive Tobias Harris. He's not just standing in the corner trying to hide to help spacing for James Harden or Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey. He's in the corner and then he's cutting to the lane. He's finishing at the rim. He's going to the line. And he is hanging out in the corner and knocking down threes. So that version of Tobias, and he's shooting off the dribble again. That version of Tobias Harris is a guy that can help this team win late in the season. And again, I've always thought that this level of talent was within him. It was whether or not you were going to allow him to have a role where he was going to be a bigger, have a bigger role in this offense. With James Harden's here, not going to happen. With Tyrese Maxey progressing, a little difficult. With Joel Embiid being here, nearly impossible. With all three of those together, nearly impossible. But now you're seeing Nick Nurse tap into the Tobias Harris that the Sixers originally acquired, 4 years ago now? Here with the Jimmy Butler Sixers and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and all that. So I found myself watching last night's game being excited about the future. And it wasn't, I got into this yesterday when I talked about the 2 first-round picks that the Sixers brought in and the maturation of Tyrese Maxey and all that. But just knowing that those picks are in your back pocket, it really does help. And knowing that you have a soon-to-be 24-year-old Tyrese Maxey, or should be 23-year-old Tyrese Maxey, knowing you have a guy that young, this good, oh, man, it makes me feel great about the future. Makes me feel great. And one of the biggest buzzkill things about the 76ers, especially at the end of last year, was staring into the abyss. Where do they go after this? James Harden's not going to be back. Joel Embiid might be frustrated and want to leave. It's just going to be Tyrese Maxey. And I love Tyrese Maxey, but just Tyrese Maxey isn't even getting out of the second round of the playoffs, unfortunately. So I'm watching this all unfold at the end of last season. And I'm like, where do we go from here as a fan base? Where do we go? And then Daryl Morey and Josh Harris, allegedly, went out there, got a deal done, brought in picks, brought in assets, brought in players that can help you right now coming off the bench. KJ Martin got into the game last night. He made his debut as a Sixer. Nice to see. I saw somebody actually pissed off that Marcus Morris is here. I'm like, Marcus Morris, I love the fact that he's here. Yeah, just like many people, I have it in my head of him looking at Joel Embiid in the playoffs of whatever year it was. It was one of the years that the Celtics bounced the Sixers out in the second round. I think it was the first time. And in the Joel Embiid era. And it was Marcus Morris going 3-0, as in we're in a 3-0 lead. I didn't mind that. I was like, well, if there's a kid from Philly, do we want me to pick him out? It's that guy right there talking that trash. So I love the fact that Marcus Morris is here. So you have guys that can help you and help you now. And now you have guys that can also, you have at least assets and picks that can help you down the line. Not to mention a guy named Tyrese Maxey who can help you for years to come. And that is a very comforting thing. So as I'm watching the game last night, I'm watching Kelly Oubre hit those threes. I'm watching Tyrese Maxey just score every which way. Missed a step back three last night. I was really hoping he would knock that one down. If you're watching on TV, it was the bottom of the screen. But knowing he's going to be here for a long time makes me feel a lot better about this team. James Harden not being here makes me feel a lot better about this team as well. In case you didn't see it, this is spectacular. Here's what I have for you. I have James Harden's system cut. I am a system. And I have the immediate reaction from Philadelphia native Kevin Nagandi, as well as Kendrick Perkins. He's reacting because they go from the press conference clips to Nagandi and Perkins on set at SportsCenter. And their reaction was very similar to, I think, how a lot of people reacted. All right. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, your boy, James Harden.
I don't think when I'm in a leash, I'm not meant just shooting the basketball every time. I meant like I think the game and I'm a creator on the court. You know what I mean? So if I got a voice to where I can, hey coach, I see this. You know what you think about this? Then it's like, oh, okay. Like somebody that trusts me, that believes in me, that understands me, that I'm just not I'm not a system player. I am a system. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. All right. Let me just establish something. I am not going to go down the road of James Harden sucks. I'm not going to go the way of, he is a vacuum. Not going to do that at all. Led the league in assists last year. Had a great year last year with the 76ers. Had a couple 40-point games in the playoffs. All that's wonderful. All that's beautiful. All that's fantastic. However, the ball's on you, man. The ball's on you. First off, on a leash. Okay. All right. I would say the Sixers did one hell of a job conforming to you. All right. Not the other way around. And as far as being a system, dude, all they're talking about is a way that everybody gets involved. Everybody gets involved. So I heard this comment. It was Malika Andrews that posted it. I didn't watch it live in the press conference. I watched it later. And then I went back and I saw this cut from that cut right there from Malika Andrews. She isolated it beautifully. And I gave a epic eye roll. And then I was relieved. It's not our problem anymore. And the Clippers, I don't see them having a lot of success. Do you? I don't see this as, wow, the Clippers, they became the juggernaut, not just in the West, but in the entire NBA. No, not particularly. Not particularly. Yeah, it's an old team, and I'm pretty sure they're going to devour themselves. I'm pretty sure they're going to devour themselves. They're going to suck themselves into a vacuum is what's going to happen. And I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled that James Harden's no longer here. Joel Embiid and the team didn't really talk about it as a distraction, and credit to them. They all love James Harden, so they're not going to give him the negative connotation of a distraction. But I think they're all excited that it's not a story anymore. After this, they can just move on from. They've already moved on from it, but now we get to hear something like this, and we get the point and laugh that it's not our problem anymore. Especially when your team right now is 3-1, and the future's looking pretty bright as of right now. Not that they're going to beat the Bucks. Always have to throw in this caveat. Not that they're going to go on and beat the Celtics. Not just yet. But now they at least have the capital to do so. Get tired of using the word assets. And then finally, after the press conference, oh my goodness gracious, Kevin Nagandi couldn't keep it together. Kendrick Perkins is asking for prayers here for a certain someone. Here is the immediate reaction after the James Harden press conference.
NBA champ Kendrick Perkins joins us now. He's a system. Your thoughts, Kendrick?
Well, one, let's say a prayer for Ty Lue.
We all know Kevin's from here. We all know Kevin Nagandi's from here. Kendrick Perkins, obviously NBA vet. You know the deal. Knowing that he was reacting in a very similar way, the way we were all reacting, and he's a real pro, just makes you know how ludicrous it all is with James Harden. All right, enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into your Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, by the way, the Sixers did win last night, and 3-1, or the 3-1 on the season. Everything's beautiful. Let's talk a little football before we get into our conversation with Quintin Mikell coming up in a minute. Let me tell you right now about the amazing Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, 7-1, facing a 5-2 team. I've referred to this before, but the number one thing that goes into this game, all right, in no particular order, there's 5 things. Number one, realize the moment. I don't have a concern really with this team, but you never know. They're only human. They did lose to the Jets, okay? This is a huge game for the Eagles. You could argue that it's a even bigger game for the Dallas Cowboys because they're the ones trying to play catch up. So time can run out on them before it runs out on the Eagles. But the Eagles have the gauntlet in front of them. The toughest schedule in the NFL over the next 6 games. Then they also take their bye after this. This is the way it plays out for the Eagles. Once again, Eagles right now at 7-1. Cowboys at 5-2. Eagles go on and take on this Dallas team and lose. They go into the bye at 7-2. Cowboys improve to 6-2. Then, while the Eagles are resting, relaxing, taking their bye week, the Dallas Cowboys play the craptastic New York Giants. Win. Now they're 7-2. Eagles come back from their bye. They're both at 7-2, atop the NFC East, maybe even atop the NFC. The Eagles then, unfortunately, have to face a team called the Kansas City Chiefs. While the Dallas Cowboys have to go and face the Carolina Panthers. All of a sudden, the Cowboys are 8-2, and the Eagles are 7-3. Don't start off the gauntlet by losing this Cowboys game Sunday at 4:25 in South Philly. That's number one. Realize the importance of this game. Realize it. I know, don't look ahead. You can only concentrate on what's in front of you. No. Look ahead just for a minute. Just glance down the road because that'll heighten the awareness for this game. I'm not saying stare at it, dwell on it. I'm saying, oh, look at that. Okay, we'll be over here concentrating on this game now. That's all I'm saying. The second thing I'm going to be looking at here is Jalen Hurts versus DaRon Bland. I've said this many times before. DaRon Bland is tied for the Cowboys lead in touchdowns. In case you don't follow football that closely, in case you don't know who DaRon Bland is, he's not a running back. He's not a wide receiver. He's not even a tight end. He's certainly not a quarterback. You know what he is? A corner back. He is a defensive back. He is a defensive player, and he is tied for the team lead in touchdowns. He's got 4 interceptions. He's taken 3 of them to the house. He is enjoying one hell of a year. The second-year corner is enjoying one hell of a season. Jalen Hurts, the interceptions have been a little worrisome this year. I know not all are his fault. They're not always just the quarterback's fault, but it's been an issue this year. He's got to be aware of where he is all the time. DaRon Bland always has to be located. And before Jalen Hurts lets it rip, he's always got to be aware. The man lurks. He's a ball hawk. And I'll just play spoiler here for a second. One of the things Quintin Mikell got into in our conversation is DaRon Bland is about to get got. Jalen Hurts, hopefully Brian Johnson, have something special for him where he wants to be caught cheating. He wants to get caught gambling. Throw a couple of double moves on him, maybe a pump fake or two from Jalen Hurts, and all of a sudden DaRon Bland gets pantsed in South Philadelphia. I'm going to go ahead and root for that to be the case. I'm going to go ahead and assume that the Eagles aren't the first people to think of this, and other people have tried it. And DaRon Bland has still gotten you. I'm going to hope that that's not the case today. But I do like the idea of the Eagles messing with him a little bit and trying to catch him gambling and losing on certain routes. Also, the fact that you got the hottest wide receiver in football, beautiful. The player of the month for the month of October in A.J. Brown. I think that's a good counterpoint. So a good way to combat it. Being that any 50-50 ball, quote-unquote 50-50 ball, I got a lot of confidence that A.J. Brown is going to go get that football. So if he is matched up on DaRon Bland, I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup, and I think it'll be another feather in the cap of A.J. Brown. The other thing that I'm looking forward to, number 3 on this list here, is Micah Parsons. Lane Johnson and Micah Parsons. And it's not just Lane Johnson and Micah Parsons. It's, again, Brian Johnson and Micah Parsons. The Eagles this year, when it has come to the RPO, it has been damn near a thing of the past. Hardly ever used in comparison to previous years. With Shane Steichen here, the RPO, live, die. Everything's on the RPO. But with that RPO in recent years, they have been able to tame Micah Parsons. Seth Joyner had a theory that they're waiting potentially for this 6-game stretch to really start breaking out the RPO again. You're going to be seeing guys like Nick Bosa. You're going to be seeing guys like Chase Young again. You're going to be seeing a guy, obviously, like Micah Parsons during this stretch. You can break out the RPO. Now would be a good time to do that. Make sure you have those edge rushers caught off guard with that RPO. I think you're going to see a lot of it in this game. And that's where Jalen Hurts has really thrived. Cutting the field in half, getting to use guys like A.J. Brown on quick slants, getting to keep the ball yourself, being able to run with the football. When Jalen Hurts has really decided to run, and that's like an RPO where he's keeping the ball at the mesh point, not giving it to the running back and taking off with it. In those situations, he has looked more like, not exactly, more like the Jalen Hurts that we have come to know in recent years. The injury has not been as prevalent. If we have seen him really commit to running the football, to scrambling, he has looked really good. It's the other times where he's forced into it where he appears to be a little bit more hesitant, if that makes sense to you. That's how it's come off to me. So in RPO situations, he's more expecting and committing to making that run and getting those first downs and getting those extra yards during those times. Still got to be smart with it. But I think the RPO will help keep Micah Parsons at bay. Lane Johnson will obviously keep Micah Parsons at bay. But Lane has always helped with that RPO. And I think if Brian Johnson does that in this game, the Eagles are going to have a lot of success. The other thing here, number 4 on this list, it comes down to Brian Johnson versus Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's a pretty good defensive coordinator. Let's call it what it is. It's a pretty good defensive coordinator. Brian Johnson has not been overly impressive this year. Not even a little bit. The RPO is one thing I got to see. And the other is running the football. The Dallas Cowboys allow on average 108 yards per game. They're facing a team that can run the football. There's an interesting situation here. Tyler Steen was taking snaps at right guard yesterday, the rookie, who played tackle throughout his entire college career. And now all of a sudden he's a guard. So Sui Opeta might not be good, ready to go. Cam Jurgens might not be ready to go. He had his jersey on yesterday, the 21-day practice window he was activated off of, still not technically off IR. But when I see Tyler Steen out there, I hope that's just in case of emergency. Tyler Steen will be ready to go and hit some reps. I hope Cam Jurgens is playing. I don't know if he's playing, but I'd like to see Cam Jurgens go out there and play. But as of right now, it could be Opeta. It could be Tyler Steen making his first NFL start. Or it could be all is right with the world and Cam Jurgens is back and ready to play. Either way, you gotta run the football in this game. You gotta run the football in this game. DeAndre Swift is one hell of a running back. I hate the idea that the Eagles haven't really given him the opportunity to break plays open. You've seen him do it before with the healthy offensive line. Most offensive linemen that I have talked to, most offensive linemen that I've even just heard from, they want to run the football. They want to have a hit and then be done. They don't want to have to hold a pass block for 3 or 4 seconds. They want to just thud and done, as it's been described to me. Thud and done, man, is the way to go. It's better for me. So if you have a young guy like Tyler Steen or Opeda, or, Cam Jurgens is even fresh off the IR, well, then maybe just run block a little bit. Thud and done. Don't make them strain. Don't make them stress. Just thud and done. Sounds a lot easier. It is a lot easier. I want to see DeAndre Swift. I want to see DeAndre Swift. I want to see Boston Scott. And I want to see Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell not fumble the football, but I want to see these guys get their touches. And not just their touches, their carries in this game. And Brian Johnson's got to commit to it. Because if you are facing a defense that is one of the best teams in the league and taking the football away, which the Dallas Cowboys are, interceptions most notably, then you got to make sure that you're protecting the football on the ground. And I think DeAndre Swift can do that. I don't have a lot of confidence in Kenny Gainwell doing it. And I have confidence in Boston Scott being able to do it. So I'd like to see Brian Johnson run the football. If I'm doing anything a little bit more out of the ordinary than I've done this season, it's the RPO and it's running the football. After that, the last thing I'm looking at in this list, slot corner. CeeDee Lamb is going to be lined up in the slot all the live long day. Sunday at 4:25 and on. Eli Ricks, Sidney Brown, James Bradbury. How are the Eagles going to defend against CeeDee Lamb? That's one of the big things I'm going to be looking at in this game. I think you're going to see a combination. I don't think you're going to see necessarily James Bradbury moved in the slot for the entire game. I don't think it's going to be all Eli. I don't think it's going to be all Sidney on CeeDee Lamb. I think you're going to do the thing that you do when you don't have a real good option, which is throw in a bunch of looks. We're going to give CeeDee Lamb a bunch of looks and try to confuse him. Yes, I'd love to see that happen. Never know what's coming next. Okay, that's fine. I mentioned earlier there's 2 things that the Eagles don't do normally. The RPO we've seen enough of. We'll still consider it somewhat normal. Maybe not this year. But there's 2 things that the Eagles don't do that I'd like to see them do. 1, run the football enough. I'd like to see them run the football. With running backs, that is. 2, press coverage. Sidney Brown is about contact. Sidney Brown, not ready as far as I'm concerned as a nickel corner in coverage, but if you're asking somebody to jam a wide receiver at the line of scrimmage, Sidney Brown's not afraid to get after it. He's not afraid to be physical. And I like the idea of Sidney Brown trying to jam CeeDee Lamb at the line of scrimmage if that allows Jalen Carter to break through the middle of the line. If that allows Josh Sweat to break off the edge and be able to get in the backfield and get after Dak Prescott. If that allows Hassan Reddick, who, by the way, 6.5 sacks, all coming in the month of October. Not a bad month of October there for Hassan Reddick. If press coverage allows you to get after Dak Prescott and potentially force him into mistakes, which you can do, which we all know you can do, well, then the Eagles are going to have a lot of success in this game. The thing that's amazing to me is if you look back over the Dallas Cowboy losses, those are all losses that happened with Dak Prescott turning the football over. The 3 interceptions he had against the San Francisco 49ers, the pick he threw against the Cardinals. Both those games were on the road, and both those games Dak Prescott had his head spinning. The defense had his head spinning. If Jonathan Gannon can do that to Dak Prescott, I sure as hell hope Sean Desai can do that to Dak Prescott. So I love the idea of that opportunity being out there for Sean Desai to shut Dak Prescott and this offense down even more. Tony Pollard hasn't had a great year so far to this point, running the football for the... Again, a cornerback has more touchdowns than Tony Pollard this year. CeeDee Lamb and Deron Bland each have 3 touchdowns this season. The next, let's see, Tony Pollard has 2. I think Jake Ferguson, their tight end, has 2. Brandon Cooks has 2. Leighton Vander Esch has 1. What the hell? It's pretty remarkable. 4 defensive touchdowns this year. A bevy of field goals, by the way. A special teams return for a touchdown. That offense has gotten a lot of help. They're not as good as the, 28 points per game they score? Not that good. So those are the things I'm going to be looking at in this game. Eli Ricks, Sidney Brown, James Bradbury versus CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts under Ron Bland, Eagles offensive line versus Micah Parsons, most notably Lane Johnson, and also Brian Johnson running the football, and then Brian Johnson versus Dan Quinn. Run the ball, use that RPO, little jam coverage. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing in the not too distant future. So that's what I'm looking at. Where are you wonderful people at? There you are. Nice to see you. How's things? Let me tell you right now about the great people of MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Enjoy all they have to offer at MyBookie.ag. It's fantastic. Huh. That's interesting. Just make sure I have this up there. Yes, I do. Okay, good. Sorry, a little interesting thing here. Okay. Yeah, let me tell you about MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. A little technical issue I had just then. Sorry about that. Let me tell you about MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. How would you like up to $1,000 in a cashback bonus? You can do that at MyBookie.ag when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy at MyBookie.ag. Enjoy all they have to offer. When you want to bet on football, you want to bet on just about anything, you can bet right now with the great people of MyBookie.ag. Blackjack tournaments, have at it, and have yourselves a good time at MyBookie.ag. Because at MyBookie, you can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie. You can enjoy it all at MyBookie. If you found $100, for instance, on the ground, you want to just walk past it, you know what you do? You go up there and you'd be cashing winners at MyBookie. That's what you should be doing. MyBookie has the biggest online selection of odds and contests to fill all the sports betting needs anytime, anywhere. So you can turn your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet. Cold, hard cash. Bet on the NFL. Bet on basketball. Bet on anything. And you can share the big cash prizes and weekly blackjack tournaments. If you've been waiting for the right time to get in on all the action, that time is now. Make your winning move today at MyBookie. Sign up at MyBookie and use promo code Farzy to claim your deposit match redeemable up to $100. Again, that's promo code Farzy to claim your bonus. Experience the thrill of sports betting right from the comfort of your own home. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing. I will say this just to acknowledge it for the live audience here. PJ, I don't know why I'm not seeing Farzy Show on the Farzy Show page. Oh, there it is. It's a different thing. It came up in a different tab. Maybe I just had it messed up. That's probably what happened. I had it messed up. But let me lead it off with Dan Schwartz. Dan Schwartz, what's going on, brother? Nice to see you. Quintin Mikell, Boise State pride when they used to be relevant. Oh, womp womp. Go Birds. Have a hood weekend all? I think that means good. Everyone's excited to see Dan. Let's see you, Dan. Harden sounded more delusional than ever, calling himself a system, says Jason A. Yeah, it definitely came off like that. T-Bro, what's going on? Sean Kilrain, what's going on? April, good morning. T-Bro. Dan, the OG of the chat checkers. You're damn right he is. Can't wait for Harden to fall again, says April. Oh, that's cold. That's cold. By the way, April, that's clearing up. It's clearing up. I could go with the plunging neckline again. Can't wait for Harden to fall again. Yeah. Sean Kilrain, I see Penny being activated for this game. Sean Kilrain, that's the hottest take I've ever seen. I wish it wasn't, but they really think I don't even know why he's on the roster. I'd rather have Trey Sermon. Maybe in the second half of the season after the bye week, they activate him, but I just don't think they have any confidence in Rashad Penny. Sixers will see the Clippers, Mr. Loser mentality in March. Can't wait. Yep, I concur. Andre Dillard played an awesome Thursday night game. I barely watched the Thursday night game, but that's great. I root for Andre Dillard. I do. 34-24, go Birds. I like it. With the win, Farzy. I like it. Eagles get the win. I always like it when the Eagles get the win. Jason A on the Jacob chat. What's going on? What's good, Farzy? How about our Sixers? How about them Sixers? By the way, Jacob Media people, more of me on Jacob Media later today when I'll be on with my friend Derek Gunn for Sports Take. I'll be filling in for Rob Ellis. Rob needed a day off, so I'll be with you guys 11 to 2 on Sports Take today. As for my official prediction, before we get to our Quintin Mikell interview, my official prediction for this Eagles-Cowboys game I have stayed around the 3-point marker for the Eagles and Cowboys. I've stayed right around there. It's a question of whether or not it's going to be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game. I do feel like this is going to be a higher-scoring game. I feel like this is going to be a 33-30 Eagles win. That's where I am right now. I'll wait for the final injury report to come out, but right now I'm at 33-30. Eagles win this game. They improve to 8-1 again going into the bye week. That's the way I see it playing out. Let's get to Quintin Mikell. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzy. Also, I'll be on Fox 29 at 7:30 and 7:45 today, so don't miss that as well. As for right now, here's my conversation with former Eagles safety Quintin Mikell. I hope. PJ? You guys want to do a production meeting right now? Let's do a production meeting right now. Here we go. Let's see if we can get him. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, buddy. Would you mind playing that Quintin Mikell interview? Thank you very much. On the Farzy Show, you know him, you love him, not just from his time with the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, not just from his time in the NFL, but also from Q&A with Jason Avant on the Inside the Birds podcast and the Inside the Birds Empire, our good friend, the Q to that A, Quintin Mikell. What's up, Q?
What's going on? How's it going, man?
It's going great. I got to tell you, first, the last time we talked and you got the earbuds in, I got to tell you, the last time we talked, you told me about this little trick as a dad to help zone out everything in the car, low volume on the earbuds on a road trip.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was a road trip. It was only like 3.5, 4 hours, whatever, but still a long time to be listening to Coco Melon on iPads in the back, So I had him in. I was listening to old podcasts. I was listening to a little, Inside the Birds, right? A little Smartless podcast as well. I enjoyed that. A little Dana Carvey and David Spade podcast flying. And I was just like, thank you to my friend Quintin Mikell. This is a veteran dad move right here. So thank you for that tip.
No doubt, man. You got to keep yourself focused and keep yourself up and awake and ready to go. So
yeah, and again, for the people, for the critics, low volume, but just enough to hear it, but also hear a police siren or a car coming up and on the whatever. All right, so the Eagles, like first thing out of the gate here, Q. You're looking at this. It's Dallas week, as we know, and I just want to jump right into it with you. I want to get into Kevin Byard and adjusting to a new team, new terminology. Sean Desai, what your earlier impressions are through 8 weeks of him being the Eagles defensive coordinator, going into 9 now. But first and foremost, when you think of Dallas week, I'm always curious to get a former Eagles perspective on this. When did you realize Eagles-Cowboys wasn't just another game or wasn't even just another NFC East matchup?
Gosh, man, really early on. I mean, my rookie year was the opening of the link, so that was kind of my first experience. And so from that first game, we played the Buccaneers. From that first game, I was like, okay, this is legit, man. You got Rocky up there, you got Sylvester Stallone flexing before the kickoff. You got, and then we ended up. I can't remember the exact week, but we ended up in the Dallas week, and it was like, whoa, it felt like everything. It just felt like the stakes, and no matter what, and then that was across the board, no matter how good we were doing, no matter how bad we were doing, it was like this game against the Cowboys, the stakes were always high. It was always high, and I started to learn a little bit more as I became a more of a veteran player. But early on, I was like, man, this is crazy. These people are nuts right now. But now I get it, man. It's serious, and even now, I've been talking trash to all the Cowboy fans out here. And I've been doing it for months, but now it's time to go, so I'm excited.
Now, when you say out here, you are back in the great state of Idaho, and you are coaching high school football. Is that what's going down?
Yeah. I'm coaching Rocky Mountain High School. We're currently in the playoffs. We're doing well, and I've got a tough test. We playing up in Coeur d'Alene this weekend or tomorrow night, and I'm excited for it. And we'll see how it goes.
Do you have any aspirations to coach in the NFL?
I might one day. I gotta, my wife and my family has to be on board with that because the coaching lifestyle is rough, man. Those guys are sleeping in the office, traveling, and all that. So, the good thing is my youngest they're getting pretty old, so they're getting to the point now where it's like, all right, Dad, you can get out the house now.
You've done your time. We wanted you around, and now we're like, man, you go back out. That's crazy, man. Good for you. Good for your team. Congratulations. One more thing. When you think of Eagles Cowboys as a player, like in game, is there a play? Is there a moment that really jumps out to you from your time playing against the Cowboys as a member of the Eagles?
Yeah, for me personally, there's many that stick out, but for me, my personal best was down there in Dallas, and I believe it was on Christmas Eve, and Marion Barber. It was like I was kind of early on in my career, and I was only playing on goal line, and it was like third or fourth down on the goal line, and I was in goal line situation, and they handed the ball off to Marion Barber, and I flew in, and I was like, "Hey, it's either you or me, buddy," and I went full speed and did what I did what I could, and got him down and celebrated. So that was probably one of my favorites as a personal for me personally. But obviously seeing Lito, get the was it a fumble interception running?
I believe it was interception. Yeah, 102, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 102. That one always sticks out in my mind. The first game playing after T.O., his defection over to the Cowboys. There's so many good games, man, and not always great. The Tony Romo years, we were kind of up and down against those teams, and battling Jason Witten, and there were so many great players on that team, man, and I don't think they get enough credit for how good they were and how good we played against them. So a lot of great memories from those times.
That's awesome, man. One thing that you played for a couple teams there in the NFL. I don't think you were never traded in season, where you never had to pick up in the middle of a season, from my recollection. Yeah. So this Kevin Byard fella is coming here to Philadelphia. He's here in Philadelphia. He's played one game already. What is it like welcoming in someone to a locker room that is just kind of joining midway through? I know trades weren't as prevalent in your day that they are right now, but what's it like bringing in somebody new and bringing them along with the new terminology and new teammates, especially in a secondary like this one?
Yeah, it's never as smooth as many people think. I mean, there's so many other things, so many other components that come with being traded. I mean, off the field stuff, family and moving and finding houses and stuff. So that part's always kind of stressful. But then, when you get into a locker room, there's certain locker rooms that are very good at assimilating other guys into their locker room. And I think this Eagles locker room is very good at that. They've always been good at that. And so I think he'll do just fine. I think he's coming to a place where I think he's going to feel appreciated. He's going to feel, the Philly fans are going to love him. The Eagle fans are going to love him. He's already been on the field a little bit. So, he's been welcomed with open arms. And so that always is like a really big thing. And so for me, like the only experience that I've ever had that was remotely close to that was signing with the St. Louis Rams, like right after the lockout. So it was like the lockout ended, I signed with the Rams, and then I was out in St. Louis. So it kind of felt like I got traded in a way, or not the same, but it was just a little bit different. And so
late to the fold. You were late to the fold.
There you go. That's perfect example. So, for me, it was just a little different because it was like, I don't necessarily feel like, because there was already guys that were kind of already solidified in their spot, and I kind of was coming in and kind of taking their spot. This situation is a little bit better for him because no one had, came up and just, hey, this is the number one spot. Like, I got this. And so for him, he's moved into that number one role, and he's assuming it, and he's going to take off from there. And so, yeah, he's going to be good to go.
So what do you evaluate from just one game? It's one game, but what do you evaluate, and do you expect the maturation process to take a couple weeks before he really understands what's going on around him here in Philly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to take a while. I was watching the game closely, and I was watching him very, very closely. And there was a couple calls where he was getting the signals, and I could see that he looked over to Reed, and he was like double checking to make sure he understood what it was. So, just little things like, understanding not only the signals, not understanding understanding the coverages, but also understanding his teammates. Like the one touchdown that was thrown down the middle on Sidney Brown, it was a single high safety, and maybe in the previous defense or maybe with previous teammates, he was used to kind of playing over top of the other seam, and so he kind of came out of the middle. And so like little things like that, like understanding you with some younger players that may or may not play or understand things the same way as you do, I think that's going to come. So I would give it probably like 2 or 3 weeks, and I think he'll be back to where we're used to seeing him when he was with the Titans.
Fair enough. Sean Desai was a guy you and I have talked about quite a bit in the offseason. We didn't really know what to expect from Sean Desai. We didn't hear from him until his first press conference with the Eagles. Impressed, disappointed? What are the impressions through 8 games so far as the Eagles defensive coordinator is Sean Desai?
Yeah, I'm very impressed with him. To me, the biggest thing that I really love about him is his halftime adjustments. I mean, the first, you can always tell a good defensive coach when a team is doing something the first half and the second half it ends. And so I've been seeing that like every game. It's like, okay, the first half is always kind of up and down, good plays, bad plays. They always stop the run. A team might get, a couple first downs, or they might make some plays in the first half. But then the second half is like whatever they were doing in the first half is done. Like they're not doing it anymore. And so to me, that's a testament of a good defensive coordinator, because he's great at making adjustments. Now I do think that there's some things in the secondary wise, and some of it's the player, the secondary guys being young. Some of it's the linebacker core being young and injuries and stuff. But there's some mistakes that we keep repeating coverage wise. And a lot of times it happens when teams get into the bunch sets, like really tight receiver sets, stack sets, and we're having some issues with that. And so that right there, I think that's the only thing that I think we need to get better at across the board, is understanding where in the secondary where we're supposed to be at when these teams condense their formations. But other than that, man, they're great stopping the run. They're great at making halftime adjustments. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. He's actually blitzing more than I thought he would ever blitz. So, I'm loving it. I love his game right now. I love the way he's doing it. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I'm with you. The game that really sticks out to me as far as halftime adjustments is the Rams game, where you have a guy like Cooper Kupp going out there. I think it was 95 yards on 6 catches, and then in the second half, 2 catches for like 20 yards. And it's like, what the heck did they do different? Because they completely shut that down in the Rams game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was actually at that game, and it was crazy. First thing first, I seeing Cooper Kupp in person, that guy's phenomenal. I mean, I never imagined he was that fast and that intelligent. But just seeing that game and the way they adjusted, and the way even this last game against the Commanders, the second half, all I saw was sweat, just up and under, just getting in Howell's face and getting him off his spot, making him uncomfortable. And so just little small adjustments that make a huge difference in the game is what I see from him. And it's been awesome.
Where are you on press coverage with your corners? Where are you on press coverage with the defensive backs? Because I do a show every week with Seth Joyner. And Seth Joyner, Mr. Aggressive, as you look, you already know what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. And I agree to an extent. But if you're trying to get timing down, and you have a guy like Dak Prescott trying to get on the timing with CeeDee Lamb in a game like this, I wouldn't mind seeing some press coverage in this particular game. Where do you stand on that? Would you like to see more of it from this defense? Would you like to see more of it, at least in this game against the Cowboys? Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I agree. I absolutely would love to see more press coverage. Not even just press, just collisions. Like even the linebackers. Like if you're in a zone drop, a hook curl zone drop, and a receiver's running through your area, get your hands on him. Like get him off his spot. Like all that stuff really matters in the timing for the quarterbacks. And what that does is it gives your defensive lineman that little split second that they need to get to the quarterback and get a sack. So I'm a big fan of press. Now, obviously, when you press, you don't get as many turnovers. So that's kind of the trade-off. But you get more sacks, you get more sack fumbles. So it's tough to get a corner. Don't want to be pressing all the time because, it's like I played with Asante. He's one of the best press corners you'll ever see. But he wanted to play off, and he lived up to it by getting interceptions. So, and I think especially with this secondary, like a guy like James Bradbury, who played most of his career in press coverage, I think it's better for him with his long arms, his long body. He doesn't have quite the over top speed that he used to have. So I think he's a person that's a perfect candidate for playing press and getting his hands on receivers, slowing them down, and giving that those young safeties, one young safety, the ability to be able to play over top now. And then, some overthrows, man. I'm a safety. Like, let's get some press, get some overthrows so we can get some easy picks for the safety so we can,
Yeah, right. Maybe you get on the cover of Madden. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you get the magazine covers and social media posts and whatnots. Anyway,
exactly.
All right. So how do you? I mean, look, what's amazing to me. Speaking of the beauty shots, right? Speaking of the corners and the defensive backs and the safeties looking good, Deron Bland is tied for the team lead in touchdowns. Like, think about that for a second. Like, I can't get over that stat. It's him and CeeDee Lamb. They both have 3 touchdowns. Tony Pollard has 2. Their tight end Jake Ferguson, I think, has 2. To have a corner be the team lead in touchdowns scored is astonishing to me.
Yeah. I mean,
they've helped out the offense, is what I'm saying.
They've helped out the offense. And I think I've seen a lot of those pick sixes. He just hasn't had an opportunity to get beat yet. Like, I think it's the same thing with Trayvon. Like, they play with their eyes in the backfield so much that they're going to get those plays every now and then. It's coming where he's going to get sixed up a few times. He's going to get double moved a few times. He's going to get, some stuff happening to him that's going to make him slow down. Because you can't go an entire season just playing with their eyes in the backfield as a corner and jumping routes and not think anything's going to happen. So, I think he's doing a great job. I mean, obviously, I didn't even know he had that many pick sixes, but
3 touchdowns.
It ain't going to happen Sunday.
I'm here for it. All right, a couple more things for you. When it comes to this Eagles defense, what do you want to see? We talked about press coverage. Do you want to see that against this team, against the Cowboys? And if not, or if so, or if not, what else do you want to see?
Yeah, I would definitely want to see a little more press coverage, or even just getting your hands on the receivers a little bit more. This Dallas team, they're going to put CeeDee Lamb in the slot a lot. They did it the last year we played them, and it kind of costed us a little bit. So that's going to be the safeties. That's going to be linebackers. That's going to be, your opportunity to, slow him down, get your hands on him, disrupt the timing, whatever it takes. So I want to see a little bit of that from the linebackers. I want to see our linebackers being able to drop into the passing zones a little bit better too. I mean, I feel like sometimes they're so quick to fly out of there and get to their drops that they're not really understanding what the offense is trying to do. So I guess cerebrally, I'd like to see a little bit more maturation from that linebacker core to understand what the offense is really trying to do, where they're trying to attack, and what their main focus is on a certain place. So those 2 things, and I definitely want to see a pick by Bayer, man. I want to see him pick one off and run it back to the house. I want to see him dancing. Listen, it's at home, but you can run to the middle of the Eagle and do the T.O. Dallas thing. Whatever you want to do, man. Let's get us a pick 6 this week, man, for the
flap your wings a little bit. Come on. All right, now these are 2. One's a hard question, one I don't think is that hard, but I'm going to ask you the hard question right now. This is the last 2 I got for you, okay?
Okay.
Quintin Mikell's going back. He's patrolling the secondary. Out of the break. Breaks free past his corner. Is T.O. or A.J. Brown? Who is striking more fear into a young stud safety named Quintin Mikell? Who's more likely to beat you? Is it T.O.? Oh, that's right. I'm doing it to you, pal. Is it that defector T.O., or is it the A.J. Brown fella who is on the hottest streak ever in the history of the NFL by a wide receiver?
Man, that is
I'm cruel.
That's a tough one.
Cruel and unusual.
Because on the one hand, you got T.O., and he's so just tall, long, and big and fast. And then it's like you got AJ who might juke you, run you over, stiff arm you to the earth. Are you asking me who I'd rather see?
Who do you think you have better odds of beating?
I think I have better odds of getting T.O. down. Because he wasn't necessarily. I mean, he wasn't necessarily known for his run after the catch, right? And I practiced against him, so I figured out ways to be able to tackle him. So I think I'd rather see T.O. AJ, I mean, he's just on a different level, and I think if he keeps, I mean, obviously he's at a great level. He keeps progressing. He's going to eclipse what T.O. did in this league.
Yeah, it could very well happen. At a jump ball situation, you beating AJ or you're beating T.O.?
I'm not beating either one of them.
fair enough.
You see me jump?
Okay, hold on. We'll put you on one of Jason's trampoline park things, and then you'll
if I get the trampoline and they don't, then I'll definitely win it.
There. Well, you know what? We will. It's an idea for a bit. We'll do it one of these. And then finally, I know you're going to give your prediction, of course, for Q&A, the podcast you do with Jason Avant on the Inside the Birds network there, the Inside the Birds Empire. But can you give me a hint here? What are you leaning towards for Eagles and Cowboys kicking off Week 9 on Sunday?
Yeah, I think this Cowboys team is very well coached. I don't think they have enough explosive players, and I don't think that they can run the ball against this Eagles defense. I think Dak is still Dak, and he's going to make mistakes in critical times. And I think offensively, even though this defense is really good, they play really undisciplined at times, especially in the secondary. So I got the Eagles winning this one. I'll say 34-31. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the Eagles win 34-31.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar ballpark to you, my friend. Quintin Mikell, great catching up with you. Continued luck to Rocky Mountain High. What was it?
Yeah, Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian, Idaho.
That's no accident.
Grizzlies.
That's no accident. That name, it's Rocky Mountain High. That John Denver keeps on getting you. Quintin Mikell, always great catching up with you. Make sure you guys check out Quintin Mikell with all the things he does with Inside the Birds podcast, also Q&A with Jason Avant as well as part of Inside the Birds podcast. Q, thanks so much, brother. Great catching up with you.
All right, thanks for having me.
I'm going to go get that launch trampoline park certificate for you and AJ Brown.
There you go. Wait, no, he doesn't get one. He's got to be regular ground.
Right. He'll get the little mini kids trampoline. You'll be on the all right, understood. Quintin Mikell, thank you so much.